Here we are at Quo Vadis again. This time it's the shortlist meeting, and we're expecting to have some fun. By the time we leave, we'll know what the shortlist is.
When I'm approaching a judge, I always try and make it sound like it's not so difficult, but I also try and be as clear as possible about how much reading is involved. So what they're expected to do, what they're asked to do, is to read about 150 books, sometimes more, over the course of 7 months. So that ends up being about a novel a day.
To get through something like 170 books in 7 months is something I don't think many of us do regularly.
The most challenging part of reading 170 books for the Booker Prize is reading 170 books, it turns out.
It was crazy when I overheard that I'm going to read 168 books. I said, my gosh, nobody does that.
Suggestions come from all sorts of places. We have an advisory committee. Of course, we've also got a board. I talk to lots of people. I talk to publishers. I talk to critics. I talk to readers about who they'd like to hear from, because essentially what you're looking for are people who are going to read on behalf of the general public, but not second guess the general public. So really the main thing is less to do with individual judges than it is to do with the combination of judges, and that's where the alchemy comes in.
We couldn't be more different in the way we think about books, what kind of books we would normally be reading, and yet confronted with the field, we largely came to, very quickly, to an agreement that these were the central books we wanted to talk about. These were the candidates to recommend to everybody else, because that's what we've been doing. We've been looking for books to say, these are books we would like to recommend to friends.
Right from day one, we immediately found a way to laugh with each other, which, given that we're all also taking this really, really seriously, has just been a wonderful combination.
This is not a thing I say lightly, because I'm quite an individual, and I rarely get to work with other people, but I found it extraordinary.
You want every kind of book to stand a very good chance of finding its ideal reader on the panel. So really you're looking for 5 judges with very different tastes and diverse backgrounds, diversity in its broadest sense.
Sometimes I read a book and I think, okay, I know how I'm responding to this, and then I'll listen to the other judges discuss it, and it's as though a whole new world is unfolding.
And the great joy of this process has been working with people who come to the discussion wanting to have their opinions changed, to change their opinions through the discussion.
And each of us, I think, lend something to each other's reading. We end up in unexpected places when we read books together like this.
Sometimes you agree for 12 books and all of a sudden one book is like pushing us to go further.
So they meet once a month from January to July. So they discuss 20, 25, 30 books in one go. At the end of July they come up with a long list. At the beginning of September they come up with a short list, and then mid-October to early November they come up with a winner. And in between those stages they reread the books that they've selected. So the 13 books on the long list get reread, and then there's a short list, and the 6 books on the short list are then reread. So what happens, in fact, is, unlike any other prize, the winner has been read 3 times by 5 people in the course of about 9 months. Which in a way is not necessarily a fair test of a book, but what you're trying to do is accelerate the actual effect of the Booker, which is to become a classic. So you're trying to see, will people still read this in 10 years' time? Will they still read it in 50 years' time?
The judges' meetings have been unanimously hilarious. I don't think any of us expected to find them such fun.
During our Zoom phase, my partner, who would be working in the next room down from me on the Zoom, would call up to me, "What are you doing up there? I thought you were in a Booker meeting." And all I can hear is laughter.
And we're all very, very different, all 5 of us, but to find a connection, and a connection through laughter and sometimes tears, there have been really emotional moments in responding to some of these books. So it feels as though these are 4 other people that I hope I'll carry on knowing for a very long time to come.
It was surprising to me the number of times we would pause to reflect on Alain's fashion choices during the Booker judging. It's quite important to get a little bit of light relief, as it were.
We had a good time. We spent a good time together, and I think that if I had to do it again, I would say yes, yes, and yes.
Really what the book is doing is making the ultimate reading recommendation. You know, you really want the readers to reflect the world, and the reason that works is because they're all reading every book. So a book that might be terrible to one judge might seem incredible to another, and it's through the discussion that they persuade each other, and that is sort of magical to witness, actually.